Imagine standing on a field in front of hundreds of people. The lights are shining down on you, your heart is pumping, and the adrenaline is flowing through your veins. This is a feeling that became almost commonplace with me throughout my years in marching band. And marching band is what I'm going to be talking about today. According to Dr. James Catterall of UCLA, a 10-year study indicates that students who study music achieve higher scores on standardized tests regardless of socioeconomic background. So obviously marching band and music education in general is very important. I personally was in marching band for all 4 years of high school. More specifically, I was in the drum line. I played the tenors for my first 3 years, and I played snare for my senior year. Today, I'm going to be going over 4 components of marching band, which are the instruments, the music, the marching, and visuals. First, I'm going to be talking about the instruments. The instruments can be categorized into a few different categories, which include the brass, the woodwinds, the drumline, the pit, and then drum majors. The brass includes instruments such as trumpets, tubas, mellophones, etc. Then you have the woodwinds, which have instruments such as saxophones, flutes, clarinets, and basically any instrument with a reed. Furthermore, the drum line contains instruments such as snare drum, tenor drum, bass drum, and cymbals. Then you get to the pit, which is the only part of the marching band that doesn't actually march because their instruments are too large. Some examples of these instruments are xylophones, marimbas, bass drum, larger bass drums, timpanis, and the like. And then, last but not least, you have the drum majors, who are actually the most important part of the band because they conduct the band and make sure everyone stays on time throughout the show. Now that we've learned about the instruments, let's learn about the music that is made from them. Now, shows in marching band are generally composed of 3 different songs, which are the opener, the ballad, and the closer. The opener is the introduction, and it kind of shows the people what the style of the show will be like. Then you have the ballad, which is the middle song. This is where the tempo actually slows down, and it's usually pretty quiet. Sometimes the drum line doesn't even play. It builds up anticipation for the closer. The closer is the final song, so the tempo gets a little more upbeat. It's usually pretty loud, and it leaves an impact on people. In addition to this, since I was in drumline, I also had to learn a song called a cadence, which is defined by allwords.com as a work played exclusively by the percussion section, primarily as a means of providing a beat to marchers. And we would play this cadence while entering and or exiting the field. Similar to the music, the marching is also a very important component of marching band. Now, marching was the hardest part for me to learn personally, but once you got the hang of it through lots and lots of practice, you were given these sheets of paper called drill, which would contain a location that you had to be at different parts during the show. And the hard part was you had to learn each position, and you had to increase or decrease step size to get from one position to the next fluidly, while also using peripheral vision to make sure you're in line with the people next to you. So you can see why this was a difficult part for me to learn. In addition to the marching, you also have visuals, which is the final component I'm going to be talking about today. Now, visuals are basically a movement that either a section or the whole band performs to either emphasize or dramatize a certain part in the show. Now, for example, my junior year we played a show called Knights and Castles, and this was a medieval style show. So when we were transitioning from the opener to the ballad, we decided to use a visual where we would all turn away from the audience and get down on one knee while the bass drum replicated a heartbeat, and it slowed down the tempo into the slower tempo that I was talking about that is typically associated with ballads. So that's an example of how visuals can further enhance marching band shows. So today I went over 4 components of marching band, which included the instruments, the music, the marching, and visuals. So if you ever catch yourself at a marching band performance, now you'll know all the different components that go into making the performance work. And hopefully with your newfound understanding, you'll be able to enjoy it more.